Hey, Zach.
What's up?
All right, all right, all right.
You like that, old man? You want a piece of me?
Do I feel lucky? Well, do you, punk?
Good morning, Vietnam! I love the smell of napalm in the morning.
You're gonna need a bigger boat.
I feel the need for speed.
I wish I knew how to quit you.
Love means never having to say you're sorry.
You do? You'll shoot your eye out, kid.
What up, film fans? Happy Thursday. Welcome to episode 352. Welcome to Dazed and Confused. I'm a little dazed and confused. You're listening to a new episode of the Cine-Men movie podcast. I'm your host, Juan, and I'm joined here by Zach.
The other high schooler? Hi. How's it going, everybody?
Just Zach. It's fine, Zach.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is. Zach is back, as I usually say.
I think that's what the title of this episode might be. Not only are we a little dazed confused, but this movie was just, it's fine.
Yeah, we're going to get into it. I literally joked with Johnny before hopping on here. This literally might be a 15-minute episode. 15 minutes, I'm not even joking.
So if you guys are listening to us for the first time, you are listening to us wherever you listen to podcasts at. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, TuneIn, Stitcher, Amazon Music, wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts, including this YouTube channel, Emasawa Productions YouTube channel. Link, subscribe, comment, share, and all kinds of stuff on here. Wrestling, interviews, unboxings, trading cards, movie podcasts, and horror podcasts. We'll be back soon. So, Zach, man, how was your week?
Week was good. We're not gonna do recent watches, but I got a ton of them to talk about, which maybe next week we'll talk about those.
Yeah, we'll have plenty of time next week. Should be fun. Next week is pretty big in itself. We're talking Batman Forever, and we're going to talk some of our favorite Val Kilmer movies. So that should be fun next week. But Zach, if they wanted to listen to us yap about Tom Cruise and Mission Impossible, how do they find that?
Well, I don't know about you, Johnny, but I know we're all over the world, in all different locations. We're at facebook.com/the Cine-Men Movie Podcast. Check out our Instagram account, /the Cine-Men Movie Podcast. We're on X, formerly known as Twitter's, at Cine-Men405. And if you want to email us, have a chat, send them some recommendations, tell us to jump off a bridge, tell us your thoughts on Mission Impossible, email the show at cinemen921@gmail.com. We need to get back. We need to do an email episode and just catch up on a lot of people, what people have been saying about different things.
Yeah, it's always interesting. So you guys can check those out. Send us some feedback. Let's dig into Dazed and Confused. So
Dazed and Confused, we are talking about arguably maybe a cult classic, maybe a classic, depending on your standards. This movie had a release date of September 24th, 1993, and it stars Jason London, Ben Affleck, Mila Jovovich, Cole Hauser. Did you know Rip was in this?
I did know Rip was in this.
Parker Posey, Matthew McConaughey, all right, Adam Goldberg, Joey Lauren Adams, Nikki Cat, Anthony Rapp, and those are just the names that are just like on them, your Wikipedia look at. Directed by Richard Linklater, this film currently holds a 94% on Rotten Tomatoes, a 7.6 on IMDb, and if you're curious, it has an 82% like on the TV Guide channel. The Adventures of High School and Junior The Adventures of High School and Junior High Schools on the last day of school in May of 1976. I mean, that's literally the plot of this movie. So let's dig into it. An hour and 42 minutes, essentially, of hijinks and pranksters in high school. When is this your first time watch? And if not, what was it like for the rewatch?
So this is probably my third or fourth time watching this completely. I watched this for the first time in high school, and it's different when you're watching it with all your buddies, and you kind of do everything probably that they do, other than go and search middle schoolers so you can whip them with a paddle. I don't think this movie aged very well watching it today.
No.
Especially the scene with the female junior high students coming into high school. But I mean, you have to love the cast, and I think the cast is what makes this movie. When I think of like coming of age tales and cult classics, I think of like Fast Times at Ridgemont High, The Breakfast Club, even maybe Ferris Bueller's Day Off. Eighth Grade, could you consider that maybe a coming of age story?
Yeah.
But this movie,
another one.
yeah, this movie, along with probably like Superbad, just doesn't age well, and I think it's kind of tough watching it in today's aspect. So I would like to see maybe, in our day and age, Zach, high school was probably not like this, but somewhere around the realm. And I would wonder what one of these movies would be like if a high school student today watched it. They probably wouldn't be very entertained.
No, and I'm gonna be honest with you. I first saw this movie. I had to go back in my
Today?
No, I've seen this movie before. I had to go back in my notebook of movie watching history. We're not doing visual today, so I can't show you. I saw this back in 2016. I got this squeezed in between Ally, the Brad Pitt war movie, and Inferno, the Tom Hanks, Robert Langdon movie. I think I checked this out on Netflix originally. And like you, I heard about the hype. I heard about, this is one of the greatest, maybe not comedies of all time, but one of the greatest high school movies of all time. And I watched it and I just wasn't impressed with it. I mean, truthfully, I know that's going to sound, anti what most people think, but I mean, rewatching it for this show, I felt exactly the same way. We'll talk about like the generational high school movie. You kind of mentioned a couple of them just a couple minutes ago, but this is definitely one of them. But to me, I wouldn't say that this movie, the problem is not it didn't age well. It's literally like a Seinfeld episode where like it literally nothing's going on through the entire film, if that makes sense.
Yeah. What would you even say something like this would be like a MacGuffin? What's the goal-oriented, item of this movie?
I think, the MacGuffin of the movie is just, ultimately we get there by the last like 30, 20 minutes of the movie, but it's just the party that everyone's trying to get to.
You know what I think it is?
What?
I think it's the letter.
It's the letter.
Yeah, it's the letter that it's the letter that the coach wants the star quarterback to sign and hand into him. And I think this whole movie, obviously the party was going to happen before, but I mean, if we're digging in deep, if we're going to dissect a movie like we're supposed to do, if we're supposed to do our jobs, Zach,
yeah,
I think it's the letter.
Yeah, I would agree with you because the letter, you open up, that's the first maybe, I don't know, what do you say, maybe the first 15, 20 minutes of the movie. And then it's brought up throughout the rest of the film, but it has like no bearing on the plot whatsoever.
Yeah. But it's the one item that Randall just he despises through the whole movie. Once he hears it, he doesn't want to see it anymore. He doesn't want to sign it. He wants to do everything he can to stand out and move away from that letter.
Yeah.
Which even means him hanging around the stoners.
Yeah.
Well, because even the coaches are like, we know who you hang out with, and it's not a good crowd to hang out with.
Yeah, and this movie does do a good job of, similar to The Breakfast Club, where you have your own cliques, and you can automatically tell who belongs in who, essentially. I also thought that one of my two last notes on my paper I have, this movie has the soundtrack of a James Gunn film where, like, you know, you look at Guardians and he has like a playlist and the movie kind of revolves around those songs. And then if this movie was written or made in like the mid 2000s, this movie would be written, produced, and directed by Seth Rogen, quite literally.
Yeah, the soundtrack is probably the thing that gives this film some life.
Yeah.
You know, we've done. You didn't mention. Did you mention Sasha Jensen? He plays Don. You remember we've done another movie about Sasha?
Which one?
It was the Halloween episode 4. It was the Halloween 4 episode where we talked about the library the entire time.
If you guys don't understand what we're talking about, that's great. Cinema movie podcast mythology, where we were supposed to be talking about Halloween 4, and then somehow got on a tangent about libraries, and it was great.
So that's the last time we talked about Sasha Jensen.
I literally did not know that, and like I said, I didn't know Cole Hauser was. I did not know which one was Cole Hauser until like I saw like his name pop up on the end credits, like who was who. I was like, oh wow. So
it's like, is he a natural redhead?
I guess so, because I think he's redhead in Good Will Hunting as well.
He is redhead in Good Will Hunting.
So, but he's like, I don't know. I guess I just know him as obviously as Rip and the dark hair. So it just, I don't know. It looks better like that.
Is this one of those movies where, you know, like, let's say like The Wedding Singer, for example, because that's always the first movie that pops into my mind. They want you to know, again, they push it down your throat that this movie is in the 80s. Do you think this movie does that about it being in the 70s?
Yes, like hardcore. It even looks like, I didn't really write this in my notes, but it kind of has like the cinematography and the aesthetic of a 70s film. It just looks, it's very, I don't know if paint by numbers is the right term, but it feels very like, it feels very calculated. That, you know what I mean? It's just like you have these characters, you kind of get like a glimpse of what they are, and then you just follow them for the next hour and 28 minutes.
When you think of Richard Linklater, what is his movie legacy? Is it going to be Boyhood? Is it going to be the Before Sunset trilogy?
Dude,
Is it going to be Dazed and Confused?
So let me I got his filmography pulled up right here. Hold on one second. Let me just go through his filmography. Like you said, he's done that. Slacker was his first actually theatrical release, which I've never seen. His next film was Days of Confused. You have the Before trilogy, which I think is, we might need to talk about those someday. Suburbia, The Newton Boys, which McConaughey is also in that as well. School of Rock, which we talked about that for its 20th anniversary not too long ago. That, I think out of all his films, that's my favorite. But I've never seen. Have you seen the Bad News Bears remake?
Is that the one with Owen Wilson?
Billy
No.
Bob Thornton.
Oh no, right. I'm thinking of Drillbit Taylor. Do you remember Drillbit Taylor?
Yeah, I like Drillbit Taylor. I think that's an underrated movie.
I haven't seen the new Bad News Bears.
I think, and you might disagree with me on this, but I think Boyhood is his masterpiece. I think that's an incredible film.
I haven't seen Boyhood in a long time.
And then me and
I
think I've seen that.
He loves working with Ethan Hawke.
Yeah,
I think he's got a.
He's worked with McConaughey several times. Days of Confused, The Newton Boys, Bernie with him and Jack Black. Last Flag Flying, which I thought that was kind of an underrated movie for that year with Steve Carell and Bryan Cranston.
The next movie he's doing is a musical, and it's called Merrily We Roll Along. So
filming will continue for the next 17 years. So this is going to be like a Boyhood project. Wow.
The musical.
Wow.
He's also doing a Bill Hicks biopic.
His last movie, well, I thought it came out last year, but the year before that, and was Hitman with Glenn Powell. So
Ew,
I never
really?
saw that one though. Do what?
That was a Netflix only movie, right?
Yeah, it didn't have a theatrical release. Which I kind of think, I wanted to ask you about this. Filmmakers like Richard Linklater and kind of preview my recent watches. I went and saw the Phoenician Scheme, the new Wes Anderson movie. Do you think it's going to come to a point where, because the way the film industry is now, do you think that if Wes Anderson does do another movie, it'll be like a Netflix or like a Hulu exclusive now?
Wes Anderson though is one of those directors that he doesn't want it to go straight to streaming though, right?
No, I don't know. And I mean, I'll be completely honest. I went to like a 1:30 in the afternoon showing on Saturday. It was completely packed. I don't think there was an empty seat.
Really?
Yeah. But I mean,
but people know that that movies like that is only out for like a week or two.
Yeah, I mean, great example, the Materialist with Dakota Johnson comes out tomorrow, and The Life of Chuck, we finally get that wide release. Those movies will be gone. Bring Her Back is almost out of the theater, Materialist and The Life of Chuck, they'll be out of theater by the time probably Jurassic World when that comes out, or F1 at the end of the month. And what does that tell you? And that's why I think filmmakers like Wes Anderson and Richard Linklater, especially Wes Anderson, while their films look incredible on the big screen, these studios are just not going to put the money out, especially to have a theatrical release, if they're only going to be in the theater for 2 weeks,
Oh, he produced Me and Orson Welles too. Did you ever see that?
I think I've seen it. Part of me thinks I've seen it, but maybe I'm thinking of something else. Is that that's the Zac Efron movie. Yeah. I think I've seen that. He directed that as well.
Yeah.
So, but going back to Dazed and Confused, we finally get our boy Matthew 40 minutes in the movie, and it's all right, all right, all right. Did you like his entrance into the film?
I think it was. Again, I think his character and just the whole sensation didn't age well. I think he's he could be somebody's crazy old drunk uncle.
Yeah, he's kind of a creep, to be honest.
Who just keeps going to the high school parties.
Yeah.
Speaking of Matthew McConaughey, he is getting his own, or he did get his own copper Texas Longhorn statue outside the stadium this week.
You really need to go down there and just take a selfie with that. That could be your picture for the show.
Hey, you know what? I should probably go do that this year, since it is the year of Matthew McConaughey.
Yeah, absolutely.
Look at that. You wouldn't want to stand next to that statue and take a selfie, Zach?
Hell yeah, I would. And I'm not even a sports fan. So just go down there for the statue.
Smells like whiskey and leather.
Yeah. As probably someone has a poster of one of his movies on the back or something like that.
Yeah, I do not. I mean, it's probably worth the 9-hour drive. I would go.
So, do you think? Let's talk real quickly about just the generational high school movie. In the 80s, you had
before we get into that, I do want to say real quick. With the Matthew McConaughey introduction, I think this is a good introduction to him professionally and in the movie, just because he gets to work with somebody like Richard Linklater, and he's in one of those movies where he doesn't have to be taken too serious.
No.
Especially with an introduction like this, and then the next year he would do Texas Chainsaw Next Generation. So I think that's plenty of work for somebody to go kind of under the radar and not put too much pressure on themselves.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, I was looking at his filmography. He did this, and then the next year we're going to be talking about Angels in the Outfield here just a couple weeks. And then he did Texas Chainsaw Massacre. So it's I think this is a great. I agree with you. I think this is a great setup for his career, and then he's kind of does this. I'm not going to say he does casual parts, but he does supporting roles until about 96 when he starts doing A Time to Kill and Larger Than Life and other Contact and stuff like that. So
Contact's another one. Richard Linklater also did Everybody Wants Some, which I feel is like an
is that the
update.
spiritual sequel?
Technically, yeah, it's like an updated version of the 80s.
So is it the same story just set in the 80s?
Yeah, a college freshman moves into an old frat house.
Oh. I was looking at the cast of that movie not too long ago. I had no idea that Glenn Powell was in that.
Yeah, and Wyatt Russell.
Oh, really? That's funny.
When I watched it, I was like, man, this is kind of lame. I feel like I'm watching like a not so raunchy version of Dazed and Confused, but it's pretty raunchy itself. So, I don't know. I think it's not the movie. I think it's me getting older, and it's kind of like the more I see some of these movies, the older I get. It's like they're not that funny anymore.
No, I mean and that and that's what I was going to ask you. You know, the generational high school movie. You know, the 80s you had Breakfast Club, Ferris Bueller. 90s you have this, and probably something else I'm not thinking of. And then the early 2000s, you know, my film. Just because I was in middle school and high school during that time was super bad, and I still think, you know, that came out in 2007, so 14 however years later, I still think that's a hysterical film. I mean, I would agree with you. Some of the drug and sex content of these films are kind of beyond me now, just because I don't, you know, it's not the drugs are you're too cool for drugs type promotion thing. Is, you know, I'm old now, and I'm not in that age group anymore, you know, so it doesn't really, it doesn't apply to me, one, and two, it doesn't work, because tactics, you know, kids have different tactics now.
See, but I don't feel that way about Fast Times at Ridgemont High.
Like, why would you say that?
Like, I still really enjoy that movie.
Yeah, and that came out in the 80s, and you still, I think you do. You still enjoy The Breakfast Club, don't you?
Yeah, but that was never really like as take me serious. You know, that kind of, I feel like that dealt with more also like mental problems too.
Like mental and social problems type scenarios.
Yeah. Like
Yeah.
mental health, and even though watching it then you probably don't realize it, but now you're like, man, it's like a mental health movie.
Yeah. No, I'd agree with you on that. It's just, I think a lot of these movies, the thing that really ties them all together is the social cliques of, you know, we have the stereotypical jock, cheerleader, nerd, social outcast. You know, it's just the same. It's the same tropes in all these different high school films.
Yeah.
Hey guys,
What's going on, Jay?
I'm sorry. My computer decided to reset itself and had to restart and run a program. So where are we?
We're kind of all over the place. We've talked about the movie. We've talked about high school films. We talked about Matthew McConaughey. So just kind of jump off and, like, when was the first time you saw this, and how does it compare to the recent watch?
The first time I saw this was back when it was released on VHS, actually, and I quite thoroughly enjoyed it. I thought Matthew McConaughey's character was, you know, I thought he was a very cool guy, but as an older adult, you're like, ooh, he's kind of a creep. But but the story that was told was very realistic in my point of view, because I've kind of lived those moments. But on the not second watch, but, you know, probably like 10th or 20th watch, it reminded me a lot of American Graffiti.
Oh yeah, there's a movie we didn't bring up.
Oh yeah.
The reason why it reminds me of that, because there's a section of the movie that takes place where they're doing nothing but driving around in their cars, and they're trying to make plans with each other, and that's American Graffiti all over.
But see, also, like in American Graffiti, it's a movie that nothing really, like Zach explained, he felt like he was watching an episode of Seinfeld.
Yeah,
like,
there's nothing that happens in this movie at all.
Yeah.
is there a story? Somewhat. Somewhat.
we
You know
were
what I mean?
talking-
It's loose.
I mean, we were talking about how there's a MacGuffin in the movie, but there's just no like central plot. It's just like seniors and antagonizing juniors
Well,
before they start high school.
I said the MacGuffin in the movie is the letter.
What letter?
The letter that the high school coach wants.
I wouldn't say that's the MacGuffin. I say the paddle's the MacGuffin.
Yeah, but the whole movie is not really based off the paddle. The note changes the decisions.
I agree. Never mind. I agree.
But I mean,
because the note's brought up numerous times by different people in the ones that aren't a part of the team, the ones that are a part of the team, the ones that used to be a part of the team.
Yeah. Well, and I originally said that the party at the end, which is like the last 20 minutes of the movie, that was the MacGuffin, because it's like you have these characters who ultimately have an end goal of getting to a party, but they all go about it in their own different way. But I would rephrase my answer and say that the letter is the MacGuffin of the movie.
we just throw a left a curveball and say that the shotgun is the MacGuffin.
You know what, the hell with it? Matthew McConaughey is the MacGuffin. All right. It's actually, I take that back. The MacGuffin of the story is the Aerosmith tickets.
That is brought up in the last 10 minutes of the movie.
Quite a bit. No, it's actually brought up quite early on in the movie. What are you guys doing tomorrow? Well, I'm going to go get some Aerosmith tickets. You want to go?
I will say it does have that the other trope of high school movies where they kind of sit around and talk about this is the best years of our lives.
Isn't there Aerosmith tickets brought up in Fast Times at Ridgemont High?
I don't remember that.
Because
is it the high school universe films?
Yeah.
The high school, what do they call that? MCU of the high school universe?
Cinematic universe, yeah.
All we're missing is Zac Efron in High School Musical.
Oh, God.
Hell, there's probably even a scene in one of those movies where we need to get Aerosmith tickets, brother. But no, this movie, I grew up with this movie along with Clerks, Mallrats. When I first seen this movie, Clerks and Mallrats and Chasing Amy were all very big movies. And this reminds me, it's Richard Linklater. He directed Slackers before this, and the movie Slackers is what gave Kevin Smith the inspiration to do Clerks and become a filmmaker. Be like, look, dude, this is easy. I can do this. But Richard Linklater took it a little step further with this film, his sophomore film. And this is sophomore film.
Yeah.
And he hit a home run, whereas Kevin Smith's second film, most people will say that he missed the ball. But on my opinion, I think Mallrats is great.
Well, I think something else that really resonates maybe with you, Jay, and other people that grew up with this movie is that this is essentially Richard Linklater's high school experience, and it's so personal to him. So I think that's one of the reasons why people can relate to it, essentially. Because it's like, oh, yeah, I remember that guy. Oh, I remember that event. Or I remember...
well, see, I never had the paddling from, the underclassmen getting paddled by the upperclassmen.
Yeah.
But we were made fun of. We were called fresh meat when we came in as a high schooler. And it just depended on how you presented yourself as fresh meat to the rest of the school, and that depended on how much they were going to dog you.
Yeah. And I don't even maybe not so much the guys. I think that was kind of like a terror tactic. But with the girls, I kind of think it was almost like an initiation, like welcome to high school, bitch type thing.
I almost took the women's initiation that it was far worse than the men's, because the men's, they just beat your butt real quick and then you were in the group. But the women, they had to degrade you and bring you down a step, and you were considered scum. And even then, when you went through the rituals, you weren't still considered one of them. But as with the men, once you took your ass whipping, they handed you if you remember, most of them handed somebody a cold beer or invited somebody to that evening's events, and they were like, "You're cool in my book, bud."
Yeah.
But the women weren't like that.
Yeah. The women, I mean, the women were basically like college sorority,
Yeah,
fat or whatever they call them, whatever it is.
fraternities.
For sorority and fraternities where they like make you go through a rigorous test before you can actually join.
And even if you join, after you join, you're still treated like a plebeian.
Yeah. Phasing. Is that what it's called?
Yes,
right?
phasing.
Yeah.
Hey, no. It's called hazing.
Hazing. Yeah, hazing. Yeah, that's right. So I was telling
I don't think any of that can probably be redone today.
No.
No, they still have hazing today, but they've kind of quieted it down because one of the biggest haze trends of the past 10 years is to make you drink gallons and gallons of water. And what they did finally realize was that they were killing people because you can literally drink too much water and it could kill you. And that was because I remember growing up that hazing at different schools where they would make you drink gallons upon gallons of water, and that was considered the haze, but people were dying from it.
Yeah. I was telling Johnny before you hopped on, I was like, one of my notes is like, this is like, in today's world, if you made this movie, I feel like you would have, this is like the soundtrack of a James Gunn movie where like he uses like hit songs to tell the story.
I was gonna mention the songs. Do you know how much the budget? I guarantee you 90% of the budget went to the music in this movie because there is no way in hell you can get Soul Ride, and numerous of the other songs that they got played during this movie. Those songs are not cheap for royalty purposes for movies.
And they had didn't the movie open up with the Aerosmith song, right?
Yeah. The budget was $6.9 million.
And I guarantee you $6 million of that went to the music budget.
Yeah.
And the box office was only $8 million.
So it made its budget back.
Has anybody brought up the sequel yet? Everybody wants some. Not worth it. Don't go see it.
Did you like it, Johnny, or were you just kind of thought it was like a horrible ripoff of it?
Well, see, I kind of didn't know that it was a direct sequel. I kind of just went in thinking it was like,
He didn't say it was a direct sequel. He just said people kind of made the assumption that it was a spiritual
No, it wasn't
sequel.
an assumption. He basically stated, no, this is the successful. You know what I'm talking about. This is spiritual. There we go. Spiritual sequel to it.
What does that mean?
Basically, in spirit and vibe, and kind of overtones, and even somewhat story, it all encompasses that this is a sequel of it's just a later generation, but it's still a sequel.
It's basically like Twister and Twisters. That's a spiritual sequel to the original film.
Not the same cast, not the same story. Well, kind of, but they still want to sit there and say this is Dazed and Confused too, but we're going to call it something else.
Yeah. Do you think that this movie, if it was made in the mid 2000s, this would have been written, directed, and produced by Seth Rogen?
No, I don't think this film would have been made without Richard Linklater.
No, I'm saying like if
no. I honestly don't think this movie would ever been made without Richard Linklater because I don't think there's very many retrospective minds like Jonah Hill with that movie. I've never seen it, but like with Jonah Hill with that '90s movie. Do you remember that? The '90s.
Oh, yeah.
I've never seen it, but that's how I feel this movie would have came across as. It would have just been a
mid-90s. That was an A24 movie.
Yeah, mid-90s. Yeah.
It would have just came across as, kind of like that, But when this came out, though,
that was a good movie, though.
When this came out, what was it? 93, 94,
95?
Huh?
93.
Okay, 1993. If you sit there and think of it, 1 year later we got Clerks. The year before that we had Slackers. This was considered, these are considered slacker movies, if that makes sense. People that have, no direction in life and have no clear path in life and them trying to find their clear path in life based on the opinions of others and not based on their own judgment, but just based on what their parents, what the people around them, and their friends want them to do.
This is one of those movies, though, that, like, I don't think hardly anybody probably saw, and it just, like, once it hit video release, it probably was a word of mouth movie, and it just became like a cult phenomenon. Yeah, a cult classic.
And that's where I seen this movie for the first time at One Stop Video. I went in there and did a 5 for 5 for 5 days, $5, 5 nights special, and I was like, me and my buddy were like dazed and confused. Matthew McConaughey, Parker Posey. Oh yeah, oh hell yeah, we're gonna check this one out. And when we did, we were like, up in love.
So let me ask you something, Jay, or John, if you have an opinion about this. You say that maybe the early 90s comedies or, you know, those type of movies were kind of slacker films, or like the thematic tone was slackers. Do you think that the stoner comedies of the 2000s with Seth Rogen and all his friends, do you think that's just an updated version of that?
No, those are the updated versions of Cheech and Chong. That's all they are, with better stories.
That's how I watched this movie too. And I went to the same video shop, and one of the other movies I rented with it was The Book of Love from 1996. You guys remember
the American Pie?
No, from 1990.
Oh, The Book of Love. With yes, I remember that movie. I
directed by Robert Shea, the guy who produced the Freddy films.
Mm-hmm. Didn't it have like a voiceover from Richard Dreyfuss, or am I tripping?
Chris Young, Keith Coogan.
Yep.
Yeah.
I remember that movie. It's been, dude, you just brought up a movie I haven't seen in so many years.
Yep.
Like, wow.
So I think that day I rented Dazed and Confused, The Book of Love, Cry Baby, and I'm wanting to say a Saw movie.
Oh,
so
movie?
I don't think Saw was out around this time, because Saw didn't come out until about 2001 or 2.
No, that's around the time that I first seen this movie.
Okay.
Yeah, I didn't see this movie till I was like 15.
I seen this movie when I was 12.
Yeah.
As soon as it came out on VHS, me and my buddy rented it.
Yeah. So I was like, I was 15 when I seen this for the first time. So I was like 05, 06.
Me and my buddy were very much into, very much into, hey, there's San Marcos, one of our local sponsors on the screen. If you'd like to hit them up. And there's our Cash App. And if you'd like to send us anything to help us with our equipment or anything, just do that. And pizza bread and blues, delicious pizza. Come get it anytime, anywhere. We're at 4500 South May Avenue, Suite C, Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. Go in there and ask them for their pepperoni. Their pepperoni is to die for. Thank you so much. We'll
be right back.
But I was 12 years old when this movie hit VHS. I'm 43 now. It resonated to me as I wasn't entirely in high school yet. I was still in middle school, and it scared me that this is what high school's like. And I think it put too many false memories and false impressions in my head of what high school is going to be like, that I didn't go to my 9th grade year because I was, all right, if you guys want to know, I was a bad kid growing up. So I had to go into a therapeutic school at 9th grade to help me because I was too bad for school. So whatever the hell that means. But I never got to experience high school life until I got to my 10th grade year. And it wasn't that bad. It was nowhere near this movie. But because I went to the inner city schools, it was more of, gangbangers, you name the gangs versus white kids, and the Mexicans had their gangs, the blacks had their gangs, the whites had their gangs. I grew up in Oklahoma City schools, and a lot of people don't realize that those are rough-ass times. We had metal detectors coming in. They patted you down, like legit, like airport security. They felt all the way up to your nuts, but like, what's that? My balls, bro. And they felt you down, and then they searched your backpack. I don't know if you two experienced that, but that's what I experienced going to middle school and high school.
we experienced that a little bit. We, I don't know about you, Johnny. We kind of grew up in the age of the school shooting era of high school, and
So did
so
I.
it was after a while. I mean, after the big events, they started doing metal detectors and stuff like that, like what you said.
I was a junior in high school when Columbine happened.
Wow. Just a side note, I was looking at other coming of age high school movies. You guys remember Edge of 17 with Haley Steinfeld?
I haven't seen it all, but my ex-wife sat there and
Yeah.
said, she's like,
That's
Jay,
I think
that was
that's an
an
underrated
emotional.
movie.
No, my ex-wife, not a big cinephile, but she's like, Jay, that movie spoke to me. I was like, how so?
I saw that
she's
in the
like-
theaters, actually.
And she's like the young girl looking for her purpose in life. I feel that. I'm like, really? You felt that? She's like, oh yes. And very few people believing in you and your future. That's legit. I'm like, okay, I got you there.
I'd like to rewatch that. I haven't seen that in forever.
My favorite coming of age story would probably be The Godfather.
Oh, yeah, well, I mean,
My favorite coming of age story is Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles because they have to go from boys to men. No pun intended. No pun intended. But they have to go from boys to grown up men by the end of the movie because they lost their father.
I'm so pissed off that you made that work. Not the mutant, not the turtles, but the Godfather. That actually is a coming of age movie. If you think about it,
It is though. It is. It is a coming of. How could it not be a coming of age story? You have a guy from nothing becoming something. That is a coming of age story if I've ever heard one. He becomes the boss, the Godfather, the you know what I mean? Yeah, yeah.
And folks, that's why Johnny gets paid the big bucks doing the show. So
Listen to Johnny over there spouting classics from the 70s. But speaking of 70s, this movie was centered around 1976. Next year will be its 50th. I say that very, very gently. 50th anniversary of those children in that movie set in 1976. They would be almost in their mid 60s, early 70s by now. Do you realize that?
That's interesting.
This video next year, this movie will be 50 years old, timeline wise, in the film.
timeline wise, yes, that is correct.
So everybody you're seeing in this film, whether they're 18, they're in their 60s, almost 70s now.
Oh shit, Matthew McConaughey still looks good. If he's that old.
All right.
That's funny. In the same summer, you got Dazed, Confused and Jurassic Park. I'll go first.
In the same summer, is that what you said?
Yeah, they both came out like in the same summer of 93.
1993. Jurassic Park came out in May of 1993, and I think
This came out early September.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
All in the same year.
I'll go first real quick. My favorite scene, if I had to pick, would be Ben Affleck when he gets caught by the mother with a shotgun. I thought that was pretty funny. Anytime Matthew McConaughey is on screen, it's funny, but it's weird at the same time. I feel like I have to go take a shower after I see him in this movie.
He seems pretty perverted, doesn't he?
And then you know, a scene that hardly probably gets talked about is when they're on the football field, just kind of going through life and talking about what they expect of each other. So
They're reminiscent. In that scene, they're reminiscent of what could have been and what has been.
yeah.
Yeah.
What about you, Zach?
I would say that was my favorite scene. They always, I can't remember if that's the scene or if it was an earlier scene where they're talking about like how the generations, each one gets better. They think each one gets better as time goes on, but it's like it's all the same thing, just told in different aspects.
Different perspectives, yeah.
Yeah. And then just Matthew's first scene, it's that's why he has a career today, essentially. So
Well, there's a couple quotes from this movie from Matthew McConaughey himself where like the older I get, the younger they stay. You know, that's one quote. That's one quote from McConaughey, and then all right. You know, we got two famous quotes from just one person.
Well, and just think about it. I mean, like that, his, sometimes, they use it as a punchline, the all right, all right, all right. But the fact that that movie's damn near 30 years old and we're still using it, he used that, he said that on his Oscar speech. It's just like, it's iconic it's iconic, and he's very loyal to that. The fact that that's what gave him that start, and he's very thankful for that.
And I appreciate Matthew McConaughey's, reach for this is what made me. I'm not going to sit there and take down what made, because a lot of stars nowadays, when you sit there and say, hey, this movie made you, they're like, I don't like that movie. That movie, man. Matthew McConaughey full on sat there, open-heartedly accepted, like, I am all right.
What about you? You got a favorite scene?
Me, Jay?
Yeah.
Oh, dude, I have a couple favorite scenes in this movie. One of my first favorite scenes is when they catch the pitcher after the game and they bust his ass, and then he gets invited to the party afterwards. I always thought that was like you fulfilled your initiation, here's your reward. I was like, okay, because you had to have that one person that wasn't afraid of getting their ass busted and then being included with the situation, because without him, because believe it or not, you know who the main character of this movie is? In my opinion? Mitch.
I thought it was Randall.
Oh, that's Clerks.
No, Randall's his name in the movie, right?
No, his name is Mitch.
No, I'm talking about Randall, who played by Jason Landon.
Oh no! I don't think he's the main character at all. He's a side character.
Oh, you think it's the teenage boy, the brother?
The teenage boy that plays baseball, Mitch, the one that gets hounded and the one that gets beat up from. Because if you sit there and think about it, they follow him the most of the movie.
Yeah, that's true.
Because Mitch is the main character. It's just all these different characters off the side. Like Jason London's like, hey, I don't feel good about this situation. And he overhears it. He meets Matthew McConaughey's character, and he's like, all right, that's cool. He gets to see Ben Affleck's character, how he truly is and everything like that. Mitch to me is the main character of the movie. Because Mitch is one of the few they follow up with after the night ends. They follow him home,
kind of like Birds, right, Zach? Big Mitch.
Yeah, absolutely.
I can't believe I missed so much of this episode, guys. I'm sorry to the viewers, the listeners, and my team.
No, you're good, man. Technical difficulties, guys. Technical difficulties. It happens. Star rating, guys. I'm going to give this a 3. I get the sentimentality of it. I get like its place in the high school genre film. It's just not really a film. This is my first watch of it in damn near 10 years almost. And it's not to say it's a bad movie. It just doesn't hit home like other high school films.
What parts of this film don't hit home to you? May I ask before you, since you gave your 3 rating? I don't want to stall, but what makes you think 3?
To me, it doesn't feel. I don't know how the right word.
I'll go in 2. I'll say it's a 3. I'm gonna rate it 2 and give it a 3. For me, it doesn't. I mean, a 3 is good, but for me, it's gonna be the rewatchability. It's just not something that I want to watch or revisit all the time. To me, I feel like the cast. I
just relate to some of these most of the characters. First off,
well, even if you can relate to somebody who's like the 2 guys, like with
Adam Goldberg?
Adam Goldberg and his other buddy.
Anthony, his name is Anthony in real life, Anthony Potts or something like that.
Yeah, like even if you try to relate to those guys, the subplot is still not important enough for me to want to revisit. And to me, the only thing that pulls me in is the soundtrack. And even this being an iconic Matthew McConaughey role still doesn't do enough for me to try to revisit it, because I feel like the script and everything is just kind of all over the place. I feel like it's a tad bit messy at times, and it's just a movie about nothing.
I don't look at it. I don't look at it as a movie about nothing. And please let me explain why I don't feel it's a movie about nothing. It's a movie about your childhood leaving you, and it's about a movie where your adulthood is presented to you. It's just a matter of what clicks are you gonna. It's a matter of what clicks are you gonna sit there and side with into your adult years. Who's gonna be your informative years? Does that make sense? You have your popular jocks, you have your popular nerds, because they give you the gambit of everybody there, because they have nerds at the party, they have jocks at the party, they have the smart kids at the party, they have everybody at the party, but who are you going to become?
That's true, but this movie also just focalizes on the people who are going to peak in high school and probably don't do anything 20 years later anyway.
Yeah.
And that's what kind of...
Do we know that they peaked in Hollywood in high school?
Well, I mean, so you get the only really people that you see that kind of you can base this off of is Matthew McConaughey, and then I think Ben Affleck's character is like a 2 or 3 year senior anyway. So it's like it kind of...
Affleck was just a dick in this movie. Let's just sit there and say that right now. Affleck was bomb in this movie.
It's because he didn't have Matt Damon.
I lost my riding buddy. I'm gonna paddle you all.
Well, and it's also, now that you say that, I also kind of think it's just like these high schoolers see Matthew McConaughey and they almost idolize.
They idolize him, and they look at it as the ultimate goal of what happens after high school, in my opinion.
Exactly. Yeah.
So 2 3s?
And I'll give it a 3 as well. If I was going to go back, and I'll sit there and say this very clearly, if I was going to go back and rank this when I first seen it when I was in my teens, I would have given it a 5-star. But as I've grown older, I'll give this a 3 because, you know, it just feels that as we've gotten more mature, we wouldn't sit there and succumb to these dilemmas that are placed in this movie. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Now, would I be the person to sit there, stay up all night, and drive to wherever to get Aerosmith tickets? You damn right I would be. But would I be the guy that would sit there and philosophically sit there and wonder why? Well, my high school experience hasn't done well. This is the reason why. Because there's a couple characters in the movie that does question their high school experience and wonder where they can change things and deviate from the path that they're on. And I just looked at, I was a dorky kid in school, and I was the movie nerd, and I wore glasses. Just because you wear glasses in high school when I was growing up instantly puts you as the nerd, no matter what benefits or what, things you can help with others, you were automatically considered the nerd. So growing up in high school, I was considered a nerd, but I was a cool nerd because I smoked weed. It's a weird dynamic in high school. And in this movie, I will sit there and say, sets up the high school dynamic perfectly. Because
until Glee came out, and then Glee changed everything.
My ex-wife watched Glee and loved it, but I've never sat there and watched Glee. But I'll sit there and say, with this movie, you have Matt McConaughey as the cool of all cool. And then you have everybody else just trying to out-cool him or just be as cool as him.
Yeah, that's true.
And this is the first, I've probably seen this movie 20 times, and I've never noticed until this watch that Jason London's character was dating Joy Lauren Adams' character Simone in this movie until they what's her name kissed him in the forest at the end of the movie. I never knew that Joy Lauren Adams and Jason London were a couple because they never set it up. Remember when he goes out in the forest and he starts kissing Mitch's sister, and she's like, "Oh, you were Simone." And at that point in time, I was like, "Hold on, whoa, this is the first time I've ever sit there and listened to it. Like, hold up, he's dating Joey Lauren Adams in this movie. Okay. Growing up with this movie, I'd have probably gave this movie a 4.5, 5. But my criteria right now, after have seen in more movies and seeing how things are done, I give it a 3.5. Just because on performances, because you have a lot of young actors that are just breaking in, and some of these are their very first roles, and they sit there and execute them perfectly because they have a great director with them behind them with Richard Linklater, letting them know what he wants to see. And it honestly, I thought this movie would be more expensive being set in the 70s because of how you had to sit there and go after the cars, the clothing. You know what I mean? It doesn't feel like a low budget movie whatsoever. This movie probably cost like $3 million to make, and I'm probably being generous.
$6 million is probably pretty big back in that day, though.
$6 million was huge in that day, Juan. Seriously, $6 million. You know how much it cost to make Freddy versus the Freddy movies? Those were like $13 to $16 to $20 million budgets. Around
that was also
time.
Well, no, that was also 10 years later too, though.
This is 1993 or 94.
Yeah, Freddy versus Jason came out like in 2003.
Well, I'm not even talking Freddy versus Jason. I'm just talking horror movies in particular. They got $2 or $3 million budget, and that was it. I guarantee you, this got a horror movie budget. I guarantee you probably got a original Clerks budget of a few $1,000s. But
so Zach, we get to talk about one of your favorite movies next week.
Woo! I've been kissed by a rose, baby. I recently went back and listened to the lyrics of that Kiss from a Rose song. It's not about Batman. It's about heroin.
There you go.
It is.
I got it saved on my HBO Max watch list, so I got that to look forward to this weekend. Next week, I can't even believe, guys, we're almost through the month of June. June 17th, we're talking about the 30th anniversary of Batman Forever. You can go stream on
that makes
HBO
me feel
Max.
old as shit, guys. 30 years.
And then June 24th, we go back to the theater, and we're going to talk about 28 years later.
Nice.
And then July is going to be packed.
Yeah, July is packed. So until next week,
Batman Forever.
Zach, do you guys or does anybody have anything they want to add to episode 352?
I think you said it on the out front. It's fine.
Yeah.
I'll add this. This last time I watched it, I was bored with it because I've seen it so many times growing up, but it still resonated with me. If that makes sense.
That makes sense.
Until then, guys, get your bat ears on. Same bat time, same bat channel. Next Tuesday, 7 p.m. for another new episode as we talk Batman Forever on the Cine-Men movie podcast.
You like that, old man? You want a piece of me?
Do I feel lucky? Well, do you, Bunk?
Good morning, Vietnam! I love the smell of napalm in the morning.
You're gonna need a bigger boat.